Howdy guys, Bookie Laura here. A few months ago, in fact quite a few months ago, I was sent a free copy of Eteka, Rise of the Imamba in exchange for an honest review, and this is that review. So as I say, the author sent me a copy of this. His name is Ben Hinson. He's a really sweet guy. He has been completely patient with me taking forever to get round to reading it. From what I understand, he's self-published and he has worked really hard. What you can really tell right from the get-go is how hard he has worked on this book, so for that reason alone I felt completely honoured to be asked to read it. To cut a long story short, the book is basically it's set during the Cold War and it follows various characters, and it really has a really strong historical element as well as a really interesting look at the cultures that are represented, and more importantly than that, it's just a great thriller. I must admit that when this book came in the post I was a little anxious about reading it. It's a chunker of a book. It was 600 and odd pages, yeah, just under 600 pages, and it's not a genre that I read a lot. So you can imagine my delight when I finally got around to reading it, and I found it to be a lot easier reading than I expected. It wasn't heavy with the politics and the history element. At its root, it's a fantastic thriller, and the other things just sort of run alongside, so I was delighted with that. As I said previously, you can tell how hard the author has worked on this book because he really goes into detail about providing you with extra information in sort of footnotes with cultural details, language details, historical elements, and I found that really useful. It reminded me of Michael Crichton in some ways, because he does a similar thing with scientific theory, provides that sort of background, that extra information for you as a reader, and I really appreciate that. I love Michael Crichton, and it really helped me sort of be immersed in the world, because the background and the extra information wasn't in the narrative, but it was included on the page so I could figure out what was going on. Another thing that I really liked about this story was that throughout the book, in fact I should probably show you one near the start, it includes illustrations of the characters. For example, I felt that these really helped me. Not only are they fantastic illustrations, but actually they helped me to imagine the characters, and they're kind of caricature-y. I feel like a lot of the guys are really hench in it, but it helped me to imagine them and them to become clearer when at times some of the characters were quite similar sounding. I must admit that at times when I was reading it, I felt like I wasn't 100% clear on what the plot was or what the main plot was or where it was going, but that came together at the end. That actually the last sort of third of the book I remember feeling genuinely excited as all the sort of different characters' stories, interwoven stories, began to connect, and you could see where the journey that you travelled and where all these characters were going to end, and that was quite an exciting point for me. This is definitely a very character-driven book. You connect quite strongly with some of the main characters, and that is what keeps you going. You want to see their story, you want to see where they go and where they end up. And initially I was expecting a lot of the characters to be bad guys, and I really liked the more human element, that actually you realise that despite what they do, they're still human and they have these really good hearts, and that was, I think the character element for me was probably the strongest. So as I said at the beginning, historical fiction isn't particularly my cup of tea. I was expecting to go in and not particularly enjoy it. I was expecting to find it hard going, but I didn't. This is an easy read because the thriller element of the story is so powerful. The characters are so strong that I was able to enjoy it despite it not being a genre that I usually enjoy. I do recommend this book to you, particularly if you like historical fiction or if you like learning about different cultures. If you just want to read something a bit different, it's very different from what I usually read, but that didn't hold me back. I hope you enjoyed that review. If you've read this book or a book that's similar to it, please let me know below, and thanks for watching guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.